Okay, last video, just to have some European content.
An engine has apparently been out of order. Here at TLDR EU, we've made multiple videos about the wobbly relationship between French President Emmanuel Macron and former German Chancellor Olaf Scholz. But now, things seem to be on the up. Since Germany's new Chancellor Friedrich Merz came to power in early May...
Friedrich Merz just said the time for diplomacy in Ukraine is over. Did he? I don't know. Merz is doing a good job. There's a big debate in Germany today, and there's a lot of there's a scandal that the AfD is like speaking like children. They use bad words and stuff. That's like the thing in Germany today. Nothing too crazy here. Whatever.
Relations have improved significantly, with the two leaders agreeing on a new Franco-German push for Europe and publishing a joint opinion piece.
I think it's a beautiful thing. I think, you know me, I'm a big fan of union. Yesterday, I want to talk about this. I want to talk about something for a sec. I just remembered. So yesterday, me, Lisa, the kid, went to the zoo. As we went to the zoo, we met a dad from one of his friends who also has a kid. And I was like, hey, let's go to the zoo together. Yeah, let's do it. So we are chilling with this dad, right? With this guy. And I realized something. And I think I thought about this for a while now. What happened is, when we were chilling with this dad, everything was easier. My kid was playing with his kid. They gave us some room to breathe. I could talk to him. And it just made me clear again. And I really believe in this, that the human race is meant, because we're mammals, like fucking lions and monkeys. We're meant to be a community. We're meant to work together. Back in the day in the villages, you had a baby and everybody will take care of your baby. Everybody working together and stuff. And nowadays, especially now as a dad with kindergarten, every parent is for themselves. I'm not texting you if you want to join us. We're going to do everything on our own. Everybody is their own little island. And it brought me back to this thing that I really believe in. Communism, in community, working together, liking each other. Let's not be distant with our neighbors. Let's talk. Do you need some milk? Sure, I can take care of your kid, man. Just like being a bit more together, especially with children. It makes everything so much easier. And now pushing this kind of thought on a big scale, I mean, how can you be against a European community of working together, of trying to work, France, UK, Germany, just working together and getting stuff done together? It's a beautiful thing. Why the fuck not?
Times last month insisting that Germany and France stand united and strong. Their bromance has even earned its own questionable portmanteau in the international press. Merzkron.
I've never heard of that.
So, in this video, we'll have a look at the prior tensions between France and Germany.
Yeah, the Brexit was terrible. Made me very sad, I gotta be honest. Brexit was it's such a step backwards, man. Terrible.
Germany, and why the relationship is now improving.
I feel like Merz is doing well. People are starting to like him because he's the way he carries himself. He doesn't have any scandals. He doesn't do dumb shit. He looks strong in foreign policy. People are starting to like the guy.
If you're a fan of the channel, did you know we also run TLDR Global,
totally
our channel where we run down the biggest news stories from around the world,
including yeah, but I can still say that it seems like he's carrying himself and people like him more. That's just a fact.
Tensions in Asia or wars in Africa, to the economic issues facing the US, and even why this South American leader is so unpopular. Check out the news from all over the world and subscribe today by searching for TLDR Global. Under Macron and Scholz, Franco-German relations hit a recent low. This was mainly because Macron and Scholz had different approaches.
I remember Macron wanted to help Ukraine and Scholz was like, no, right? I remember. What do you think will happen in Ukraine? I don't know. Nobody knows. Thank you, Mar Myrtle. Thank you, man.
Many key issues, from debt to energy. Their most obvious public disagreements, however, were Ukraine-related. Macron and Scholz repeatedly clashed over Germany's refusal to send tourist missiles to Ukraine.
Fucking terrible, man.
Which could conduct precision strikes deep inside Russia. As well as
Scholz was awful, man. What a terrible fucking guy.
The issue of deploying Europe.
And a fucking traitor to his people. The guy should be in prison for what he did with COMEX and what he did there, man. You should Google that shit. That shit is insane. The latest chancellor we had before was super fucking corrupt.
Troops.
Very, very
While
bad
France
stuff.
had sent its long-range Scalp missile to Ukraine in 2023, Scholz refused to send Germany's Taurus missiles due to concerns over potential escalation.
Google
Plus, it would likely require German troops in Ukraine to operate them. The position of Scholz's government caused some frustration in Kiev, but it was also ridiculed by Macron, who said at a press conference in February 2024, many of those saying never today are the same people who said never tanks, never planes 2 years ago.
Fully agree with him.
At this same conference, Macron also refused to rule out sending Western troops to Ukraine, which clearly annoyed Scholz, who almost immediately took to X to say, "It's clear there will be no ground troops from European countries or NATO." This exposed a fundamental difference in Macron and Scholz.
I think also historically, Scholz is the shortest chancellor ever.
Scholz's approaches to foreign policy. While Macron was pursuing strategic ambiguity, i.e. being deliberately evasive about potential actions like sending troops to Ukraine in order to deter Russia without making explicit commitments, Scholz was far more clear and cautious in his approach, and didn't like Macron's off-the-cuff idea floating. Discussions over funding Ukraine also exposed another fracture in the Franco-German relationship: debt. For context, Macron has repeatedly
Ludwig Erhard was shorter? I could have sworn I read that he was the shortest ever.
championed the idea of European debt sharing, calling for joint European defence bonds, or Euro bonds, to fund increases in defence spending and support
I will buy that
Ukraine.
shit. Probably great investment.
However, Germany has always been sceptical of debt sharing at the EU level, a tradition.
Oh, that sounds very deep. I don't know what that really means. That sounds very deep. I don't know what the consequences will be.
Scholz continued.
The shortest serving German chancellor was Heinrich Brüning from 1940 to 1942 for 2 years. I guess after World War II, he's the shortest chancellor.
While Merz is also wary of debt sharing, having recently ruled out joint debt at the EU level
What do you think of Merkel's decision? Merkel? Why are you talking about Merkel? What?
for, quote, permanent crises, his recent decision to lift Germany's constitutional debt brake, and his approval of the Commission's Rearm Europe programme, which involves 150 billion euros of joint borrowing.
There's things that we made a lot of money and all of a sudden we lose all the money. Corona, right? Corona fucked us.
Suggests he might be more open to debt sharing.
What is debt sharing? I don't know.
Finally, energy was also a big source of disagreement between Macron and Scholz. For years, Germany, along with Austria, Portugal, Denmark and the Netherlands, had opposed classifying nuclear power as sustainable at the EU level.
Which is fully agreeable. Also, how can you? I care about this. Here we go. I'm getting emotional. Green voter. If you really read up on this, these corrupt motherfuckers, these lobbyists, they managed to do a thing with the EU where it was allowed to call green nuclear energy completely green and fine, which was like the lobby. They were like fucking investing and corrupting. Yeah, it's fucking fine, man. And then some countries were like, no, it's not.
Meaning it wasn't treated on
Thank you,
par with renewables in EU legislation. This ideological disagreement over nuclear was reflected in the two countries' energy mixes. France
now Chad's
gets
gonna
up to
go
70%
crazy, man.
of its electricity from
Chad hates when I talk about nuclear power. Chad goes insane.
nuclear energy, the highest share in the world, while Germany has been phasing out its nuclear power plants and generated roughly 60% of its energy via renewables in
I did not know that. In
2024.
Alter, 60% out of green. That makes me actually fucking proud. I didn't know that. That's amazing. What? 60% from green energy? What? The fuck?
However, in May this year...
What's with nuclear? There's a video on YouTube where I talk about nuclear very deeply. Very deeply. We looked at every study, everything.
Merz,
if you ever care about my nuclear power opinion, we did a very cool deep dive into it and really looked at it.
These nuclear reactors in 2023
6%
signaled that
really?
Germany will no longer block French efforts to ensure nuclear power is treated on par with renewable energy in EU legislation. Merz did this partly to clear up the energy dispute and reset Franco-German relations, but probably also to pave the way to push for a nuclear weapons sharing agreement with France.
That'd be nice.
Which Merz is keen on.
That would be nice. It would be a great step. As you know, I'm very pro-EU. I love Europe. Bro, if you're European, I fucking love you. I think you're my brother. I think we're all brothers. But I'm very, very pro-EU. And this, I think, is the first steps of union. And World War III doesn't get started by us, but by all of Europe. And we will have a new umbrella against Russia here in Germany. I'm fully for this shit, man.
So
I am super, super pro France, UK, and Germany becoming very, very close.
As you probably guessed.
How can you not?
Merz and Macron's alignment is the most obvious reason for the improvement in Franco-German relations. As we've already covered, Merz and Macron are far more strategically and ideologically aligned than Macron and Scholz.
Doesn't Macron have an election soon and gets fucked anyway?
Merz, like Macron, believes in boosting European industry. Both leaders are pro-business and pro-deregulation, having this week agreed on a drastically watered-down version of the EU supply chain oversight law. And in terms of leadership style, both are similarly happy to make sharp comments and suggestions publicly, even if unpopular. In May, Merz also affirmed...
I'm gonna offend chat here and I'll just tell you the truth. If you check out my nuclear power video, a lot of you people, are not educated on nuclear power plants. You don't know the facts, you don't know stuff. For example, most people that defend nuclear power, and you can Google this shit, don't know that nuclear power plants are not forever. They have, I think, around 50 years of health and shit. Nobody ever thinks about that. Nobody knows about that shit. Says you? Well, I just destroyed you there. There you go.
His commitment to strategic ambiguity, saying that Germany would stop publishing full details of military aid to Ukraine, leading to some speculation that Germany may now be quiet.
I'm not anti-nuclear, never fucking said that. I'm just saying if you're fully pro-nuclear and think it's totally perfect, you're the idiot.
Taurus missiles.
Which proven in my nuclear power video. Check it out. Don't be mad.
France and Germany are now also more reliant on debt and energy, as we explained earlier. But there's also at least two other reasons for this rapprochement that we'll explain now. First, the revival of the Franco-German engine is also partly due to US President Donald Trump.
Yeah, he's kind of uniting us like Mr. Manhattan, bro.
Trump.
So short, nuclear, yes or no? That's a polemic and superficial question. Obviously, the world's more complex than that, and nuclear power is more complex than that. That you can't just say yes or no. It's very complex, as talked about in my nuclear power video, where we come to a solution that's also very complex. Thank you, Mr. Pineapples. Thank you.
Trump and US Vice President J.D. Vance's comments about Europe and wavering commitment to NATO's Article 5 mutual defence clause have lent new urgency to the EU's defence efforts, which Macron and Merz are leading. In his election victory speech, Merz said the EU needs to achieve independence from the USA and has pledged to do whatever it takes on defence. Merz has also echoed Macron's calls for European strategic autonomy, with the two leaders announcing plans in May to establish a joint Franco-German defence and security council to improve operational coordination. And Merz...
Dude, if I was German Chancellor, I would always go to Paris. I'm gonna visit Macron on a very important diplomatic mission, and then I would just go to nice French restaurants. Hey, Macron, Alter, let's go to the fucking 3-star restaurant real quick, okay? I would, exploit my connection to France to go to nice restaurants.
It's now focusing heavily on Germany's rearmament. Trump's return has apparently galvanised pro-EU sentiment in several member states and given new impetus to a reset of France-Germany relations.
Scandal,
and
I will pay for myself.
We might also argue that some of Europe's prospective three-country alliances, like the Weimar Triangle of France, Germany and Poland, which commentators were talking up as a potential replacement for the engine of Europe when France and Germany weren't getting on, haven't really worked out. Polish Prime Minister Donald Tusk is dealing with a setback after the Polish presidential election was won by the opposition Law and Justice Party. And thinking about the other big European powers, Spanish Prime Minister Pedro Sanchez...
Eventually bring back Hitler and you will show him this stuff. What would he think?
Annoyed NATO allies by...
He would probably say, the Judeo-capitalist elites have won after all, I say.
5% defence spending target. And Italian Prime Minister Giorgia Meloni is seen as too close to the Trump administration to lead on pan-European defence. Ultimately, it's very early in Merz's tenure, and there remain sources of disagreement between France and Germany, most notably debt sharing.
Hitler.
While they've started off on the right foot, the relationship's longevity will also depend on how the France and German domestic political situations develop.
These four have so much responsibility, man. You're pressured by Putin, Trump, and China, and you have these four guys that change every 4 years. It's a lot of pressure, man. These guys need to really get their shit together. It's a very historical moment, man.
Years. The next issue of our magazine, Too Long, is about to publish.
GG, yeah.
She slipped through my fingers like sand. Heard that she had a man. Now I'm just sitting here sad. Oh well, shit sail. She slipped through my fingers like sand.